Hello and welcome to Missouri Legislative Update. This month we bring you our program from the third floor gallery in the Missouri State Capitol. In this month's show, we take a look at several hot button issues moving through the General Assembly. I'm Jonathan Lorenz reporting for the Missouri House of Representatives.
And reporting for the Missouri Senate, I'm Jennifer Yapel. The Senate spent the final week of April debating how more than $24 billion will be spent on state programs and fund state departments. After several days of negotiations,
a couple things that is pervasive through all of these core budget bills,
and many more hours of debate,
but I did mention in committee that I was going to go over the growth in tax credits.
Lawmakers in the upper chamber gave their approval to the 13 bills that make up Missouri's core operating budget for fiscal year 2013. Funding for a program benefiting low-income blind Missourians and a 2% pay raise for all state employees who make up to $45,000 a year were among the major funding items featured in the Senate's version of the state budget. Members of the Senate failed to adopt an amendment offered by Senate Majority Floor Leader Tom Dempsey of St. Charles that would have eliminated a proposed 2% pay increase for certain state workers. Instead, Senator Dempsey supports eliminating various state holidays to provide funding for pay raises for all state workers.
But I don't see that kind of transformational change, that analysis of looking at, a new way of creating efficiency, delivering the services that we need to deliver, and doing it in a way that is cost effective.
Senator Shalom Kiki Curls of Kansas City speaks against the amendment.
We know that during a recession or the tough economic times that the Medicaid rolls increase, TANF increases, food stamps increase, mental health services increase, crime increases. Mr. President, this raise for our state employees is the right thing to do.
The Senate also provided a slight increase in basic state aid for elementary and secondary education, funded through House Bill 2002. However, Senator Jason Crowell of Cape Girardeau says more funding could have been found if it weren't for the extensive use of tax credits in the legislature.
For the last several years, the way in which we've made sure that tax credits are the #1 funding priority of the state of Missouri is we've taken the money from K through 12 education. We haven't fully funded the foundation formula. The governor has withheld the transportation line item funds, withheld the scholarship funds on higher education, and withheld the higher education funds. So the way in which we ensure and have ensured that these tax credit takers get paid their money is it's coming out of education.
The Senate is also holding funding flat for public colleges and universities in the state, found in House Bill 2003. In addition, funding for social services garnered the attention of lawmakers during budget debate. The Senate restored funding for low-income blind Missourians who receive health care benefits through House Bill 2011. Senator Jolie Justice of Kansas City shares her concern regarding another constituency that falls under the bill, foster parents.
As a matter of fact, there's a federal lawsuit pending against the state of Missouri saying that we're in violation of federal law because we are paying so little to these foster parents. One of the things that I'm concerned about is if this pool is cut entirely and we don't figure out how to put that back in somewhere else, that we are actually going to lower the amount that we're paying foster parents in the state, which is already woefully inadequate.
As budget talks continue into the final weeks of session, lawmakers in the upper chamber work with their colleagues in the House to deliver a working budget for Missourians. Their deadline is May 11th.
The Missouri House approved a proposal aiming to bring startup companies to the Show Me State. The bipartisan bill hopes to put Missouri on an even playing field when it comes to creating jobs. The Missouri House approved a proposal aiming to bring new companies to the Show Me State. The proposal offers tax credits to angel investors looking to invest in startup companies in Missouri. Angel investors are individuals who invest large amounts of cash into startup companies. The proposal allows eligible investors to receive up to $250,000 per year in tax credits. Supporters claim the bill incentivizes true job growth in Missouri.
What this bill will do will incentivize the angel investors to inject their own money and their own cash and their own expertise into these Missouri companies in order to create jobs.
The legislation caps the tax credit program at $6 million per year. Supporters hope this bill will put Missouri on an equal playing field when it comes to competing for high-dollar investors.
In Kansas City, Missouri, it is more advantageous to start your company
not in your own garage, but if you live on State Line Road, crossing the street and starting in your neighbor's garage. And all we're trying to do is let these folks, these entrepreneurs, these small business startup folks, come home and start their businesses in our state.
Lawmakers approved the bipartisan bill with more than 135 yes votes. The bill now moves to the Senate for consideration, where tax credit-related proposals have been met with opposition.
We're 7 weeks away. We have quite a few weeks left in the session, so we'll see if anything of that subject matter is heard or moved or not in the Senate.
The 2012 legislative session wraps up on May 18th at 6 p.m. The Missouri House approved legislation taking a stand against President Obama's Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. While the health care law is still in limbo, supporters claim they are standing up for states' rights. The Missouri House put its stamp of approval on legislation making it illegal for any federal employee to enforce any part of the federal health care plan. Under House Bill 1534, a federal employee would be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor if they attempt to enforce any part of the Federal Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act in Missouri. Supporters claim the Health Care Act is irresponsible and has the potential to bankrupt the state.
It is up to us as state legislators who are responsible for the power of our purse. We have a constitutional duty to protect that, because if the law goes into effect, we as the purveyors of the purse are going to be required and forced to spend billions of dollars into an ever-expanding, unmaintainable Medicaid system.
However, opponents don't agree. They claim the proposal is not only unconstitutional, but a disregard for one's oath of office.
A state legislature does not have the power to repeal a federal law. To do so is to be intentionally obtuse about the existence of our Constitution. This is straight-out nullification. It is effectively cessation. To pass it is to violate one's oath of office.
Lawmakers approved the proposal with more than 105 yes votes and sent it to the Senate for consideration.
Missouri senators spent several hours debating varying education proposals. Senate Communications correspondent Dean Morgan takes a look at some of the legislation.
So far, Senate Education Bills 806, 706, 576, 677, and House Bill 1174 have been those receiving the most attention during this year's session. Senate Bill 806 would modify the teacher tenure systems. Senator Jane Cunningham of Chesterfield sponsors the measure and says there's been a need for tenure reform for some time.
You'll remember that LIFO is a required government dictate that if there's a leave of absence or that you have to let teachers go because of a reduction in force requirement for financial reasons or other reasons, like the pupils aren't there, you have less population, then those that you fire, that you have to let go in a reduction, have to be hired back based on seniority, not based on the effectiveness of the teacher.
Senator Cunningham also sponsors Senate Bill 706, a measure that would modify provisions relating to school operations, which she tells the Senate General Laws Committee is similar to another proposal of hers.
We just added this language to 451. This is the Turner fix. It has both the Kansas City and the St. Louis plans on it and the rest of the state.
Senate Bill 576 is another education proposal which would modify provisions relating to charter schools. During debate, Senator Maria Chappelle-Nadal of University City cites concerns she has about all Missouri school districts.
And there are bills all the time that deal solely with a county or municipality, and it is not my business to try to destroy what you need for your county. There are bills that address that all the time.
Senate Bill 677 and House Bill 1174 are similar measures, each addressing accreditation for failing school districts. Senator Shalone Kiki Curls of Kansas City says this could benefit schools in her hometown.
I know I've called you countless times over the past several months. It's taken a lot of time and energy just trying to come up with something that provides somewhat of a balance among all the other options that have been available so that our district can begin to move forward.
Missouri senators say they would prefer not to combine these measures into an omnibus bill so as to give each the attention needed as the legislative session continues. Reporting for the Missouri Senate, I'm Dean Morgan.
The Missouri House approved a proposal giving students the opportunity to attend a different school district if certain criteria are met. In this next story, we take a look at an attempt by lawmakers to help out a certain group of Missouri students. The Missouri House approved a proposal aiming to help students affected by long travel times. House Bill 1789 allows students to apply for a hardship to switch school districts if certain criteria are met. The bill aims to help students who are placed in a school district where they are forced to attend a school located farther away than a school in an adjacent district.
This bill merely, by making 5 conditions, allows some children to attend a school district that is much closer to them, a school building that is much closer to them than where they're required to attend now.
However, opponents fear the proposal creates an incentive for school districts to build buildings near district lines in order to poach students from neighboring districts.
But I could see a school building a school building on the border of their district and saying, we've got a lot of kids in the district next to where this school building is, say the district's in District A where the building's built, a lot of kids in District B that live a long way from their school. Now they're closer to the new school we built, so they can come to school across district lines into our district.
With the school budget stretched to the breaking point, opponents also claimed the legislation was an opportunity for school districts to pad its budgets by adding students to the proposal.
We want to take care.
But supporters claim the legislation is all about the students.
It's not about the money to your district, but it's about serving the kids. And no kid needs to be on a school bus for 2.5 hours when a local school district is more than half the miles closer.
Lawmakers narrowly approved the bill with only 85 yes votes. The legislation now heads to the Senate for consideration. Up next on Missouri Legislative Update, we take a look at 2 proposals that could change the way Missourians go to the ballot box. That and more after the break on Missouri Legislative Update.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. IAVA.org. We've got your back.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people, connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Welcome back. The Missouri House approved a resolution aiming to promote a proposed constitutional amendment requiring voters to show a photo ID at the ballot box. In this next story, we take a look at the latest developments surrounding this hot-button issue.
What we're doing is trying to let people vote on this.
The Missouri House adopted a resolution rewriting ballot language for a proposed constitutional amendment requiring Missouri voters to show a photo ID at the ballot box in order to vote. A Cole County judge ruled the ballot summary language unconstitutional, but did rule the General Assembly could rewrite the summary. The sponsor of the resolution states the proposal is all about giving voters the opportunity to decide for themselves.
Let the voters decide. They're the ones who we want to empower to be able to vote on whether or not they want to protect their voting identity with the simple use of a photo.
However, opponents don't agree. They claim the resolution is a waste of time.
What this resolution is trying to do is fix the fraudulent attempt to continue to suppress voters based on a fraudulent argument that there is voter fraud.
Despite objections, supporters claim the resolution allows the question to be placed on an upcoming ballot.
This doesn't implement a plan. This doesn't put forth the statute that says, well, you've got your ID has to be this way and you have to do it by this date. And that's not what this is. This is just asking the voters if this is how they want to be governed, isn't it?
Lawmakers approved the new ballot summary along a party line vote with more than 100 yes votes. The resolution now heads to the Senate for consideration.
Lawmakers consider legislation this month that would change how Missouri voters elect the lieutenant governor. Senate Communications correspondent Daniel Clote has more.
On the federal level, presidential candidates choose their running mates following the primary elections, and in November, they're elected by voters as a package deal. It often works the same in state government, with governors and lieutenant governors elected on a single ticket. In Missouri, however, the two offices are elected separately, and it's not uncommon for the governor and lieutenant governor to be members of different parties. Legislation filed this session, though, would change that process. Senate Joint Resolution 30, filed by Senator John Lamping of Ladue, would require the joint election of the governor and lieutenant governor starting in 2016. If enacted, the gubernatorial candidate would select a running mate for the lieutenant governor position following the primary elections in August. Voters would then elect the two candidates together in November. Senator Lamping says the change would create more cooperation between the two positions and give citizens and the state better representation.
And by bringing these two people together on a ticket, you could better represent the state in the administration. I think from a citizen's perspective, we think long and hard in terms of who our governor might be. Our governor, like I said before, has tremendous power and authority and discretion. And I can't imagine the way we operate up till now. If I pick that governor and the lieutenant governor is of a different party or has very dynamically different views, what sense does it make to have all of that go out the window if they're in the untimely situation if a governor were to pass away?
Some senators, however, have raised concerns of concentrating too much power in the executive branch. Senator Victor Callahan of Independence expressed his apprehension with the change during debate on the Senate floor.
I don't fear the other party in the political process. I always fear the executive branch, regardless of whoever is there, because the only check on that is the judiciary and the legislature. So when there's a potential of putting too much power in the executive, and now we're sort of giving that person, while it's approved by the voters, the ability to pick their team, you see, that's kind of the basis of my concern.
Missouri is one of 17 other states that elect the governor and lieutenant governor separately. The process is laid out by the Missouri Constitution. Changing it, then, would require approval by voters. If passed by the General Assembly, Senate Joint Resolution 30 would be placed on November's ballot. Reporting for the Missouri Senate, I'm Daniel Clote.
The Missouri House approved a proposal aiming to help protect the state's #1 industry. Lawmakers gave their stamp of approval to legislation aiming to crack down on the actions of animal activists. The Missouri House sent legislation to the Senate aiming to protect the state's top industry. Lawmakers approved legislation cracking down on animal activists who use deception in order to gain entry into Missouri farms. The bill creates the crime of agricultural production facility interference. This offense occurs when an individual records the actions of a farm without its consent. Supporters claim the legislation aims to protect the lifeblood of the state's economy.
We have a very big sector of our industry and a large number of thousands and thousands of employees across the state that work in different parts of these businesses. And we have to ensure that these businesses stay in place. In some areas, it's the lifeblood of the economy.
The proposal also makes it illegal for an individual to be hired at an agricultural facility under false information. However, not everyone agrees with the legislation. Some claim the proposal could be harmful to people's health.
I think that by not allowing light to be shown or for people to see what happens on some of these farms, that it could lead to foodborne illnesses and other things that could negatively affect consumers of our agricultural products here in the state.
Guernsey claims the bill isn't a health issue. It's about protecting the state's #1 industry.
I live on the Iowa border, and I get the news from Iowa, and I follow very closely what took place with those activists that absolutely gained employment with the pretense of using their time there to create propaganda against the company and agriculture.
The Missouri House approved the bill with more than 105 yes votes.
Legislation aimed at helping some Missourians gradually leave the welfare system was approved by the Senate. Senate Communications correspondent Brad Bayshore has more on the Low-Wage Trap Elimination Act.
McKenna.
Senate Bill 727, sponsored by Senator Rob Schaaf of St. Joseph, would set up a pilot program within the Department of Social Services to help parents and guardians from suddenly losing their full child care benefits because they earn too much money to qualify. Senator Schaaf says if the pilot program works, It could be implemented statewide and could allow some Missourians the chance to go after higher paying and more rewarding jobs without having to worry about the well-being of their child.
But the wage trap problem is multifactorial. And if we are going to have the child care program, this modification of it will give us the information we need to know whether or not we can apply this method to all of the other programs and get people moved off of them too. That's the whole purpose of this. It's a uniquely designed method that hasn't been tried, and we just want to see if it works.
One of the features of the Low-Wage Trap Elimination Act lets some parents and guardians share in the cost of benefits, while not having to worry about earning too much money to qualify.
Because that wage went above the cap, that individual says, no, I can't take it because I'll lose my child care, right? So what you're doing is saying, hey, listen, you get a penny above, you get $50 increase in your wages or whatever it may be. Half of it, you can keep your child care, but half of it is going to the state, and the other half you can keep. So it's like you're buying into a program and you're becoming more accountable.
The measure sparked lively debate in the upper chamber regarding the overall cost of the program and the history of child care subsidies in Missouri.
Can you imagine the bureaucratic nightmare that this will entail? I mean, whatever we save will be totally spent 10 times over just in the bureaucracy of tracking how much, okay, you get a $50 increase this month, or you're going to send in this. I mean, there is no way.
If we were going to put single moms in the workplace, they were going to have someone to take care of their kids. And knowing that, we came up with a child care subsidy program at that time, and that's how we have moved single working moms off of the welfare rolls into the workplace. And we've had this program in place for years. And what the senator from Buchanan is trying to do is he's trying to make it even easier for those folks to get off totally of any public assistance.
Senate Bill 727 was recently voted out of the House Children and Families Committee and is ready for consideration on the House floor. Reporting for the Missouri Senate, I'm Brad Bayshore.
When we come back, see how several lawmakers work with officials in Brazil to help turn economic dreams into a reality. And another nationally recognized collegiate team receives a warm welcome at the state capitol. Stay tuned.
What the heck is this thing?
Back fat. Someone must have lost it eating the smaller sized popcorn.
Give me that.
Welcome back to Missouri Legislative Update. The state of Missouri recently signed several trade agreements with Brazil, one of South America's largest countries. Senate Communications correspondent Brad Bayshore talks with two state lawmakers who were part of the trade mission to highlight the new partnership.
Senator Mike Parson and Representative Kevin McManus recently traveled to Sao Paulo, Brazil, with the governor and a delegation of business and education leaders to highlight a new trade agreement between the two regions. The agreement is an effort to open up new markets, increase exports and imports, and to expand cultural and educational partnerships. Representative Kevin McManus of Kansas City serves on the House International Trade and Job Creation Committee. He says Missouri shares a lot of similarities with Brazil.
Brazil is a heavy into agriculture. They're trying to grow their economy in terms of high tech and advanced manufacturing. There is a strong emphasis on education, particularly in terms of engineering and health sciences. So all those, I think, are areas that our state is trying to improve and also naturally pair up with similar countries like Brazil.
Senator Mike Parson of Bolivar is the vice chairman of the Senate Agricultural, Food Production, and Outdoor Resources Committee. He says the agreement will surely increase Missouri's role in a fast-growing global economy.
One of the companies down there, O.C. Chappé, Maxion, which is a wheel company. They make wheels for General Motors, Ford, John Deere, agriculture wheels. Well, one of their plants is in Sedalia, Missouri, which was in my district. So that was kind of a unique opportunity to go see basically the mother company and with some good talks with them about expanding that business here in Sedalia.
The trade mission also allowed education officials with Missouri State University to sign an exchange agreement with 2 different universities in Brazil. The goal is to prepare students for careers in an international economy and share scientific research.
Missouri State was down there. They also signed a education agreement there with 2 universities there, one public and one private, to do some exchange students and to bring students here to the state of Missouri. Now, there's one thing Brazil, I think they're going to send 100,000 students into the United States for education opportunities. And Missouri will get a fair chance at some of those students.
Really, the goal is to not only break down those barriers that are language, but also break down the barriers of really just cultural understanding and awareness of the opportunities that exist both in Missouri and in Brazil. And hopefully, as you know, this partnership continues to grow and generations pass, that this will be something that will be a long-term commitment between both Brazil and Missouri, so we can grow together.
Reporting for the Missouri Senate, I'm Brad Bayshore.
The Missouri General Assembly welcomed the University of Missouri men's basketball team to the state capitol. Lawmakers and fans had the opportunity to meet head coach Frank Haith and several members of the basketball team. The University of Missouri men's basketball team visited the state capitol following its basketball season. The team, joined by head coach Frank Haith and athletic director Mike Alden, took a moment to visit with lawmakers in both chambers. The Missouri Tigers finished its basketball season with a 30-5 record, which included a Big 12 tournament championship. The first-year coach claims all of the team's success can be attributed to its character.
This season has been unbelievable. The group of young men that my coaching staff and I took over, that were the best. And I can tell you, not just were they good players, they're really, really good people. And I really believe those things go together. When you have a successful team, it's not just about their ability and what they do on the basketball court. It's about their character. It's about who they are.
After being introduced in both chambers, the team headed to the House Lounge to sign autographs for lawmakers and fans. And that's our show for this month. If you have any questions regarding anything going on in the Missouri House, you can visit our website at www.house.mo.gov. I'm Jonathan Lorenz reporting for the Missouri House of Representatives.
And if you have any questions about the legislation in the Senate that appeared in this program, please visit www.senate.mo.gov. There you'll find the contact information for the 34 members of the Missouri Senate, as well as a link to the Senate's newsroom website. I'm Jennifer Yapel reporting for the Missouri Senate. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next month on Missouri Legislative Update.